Brian embarked on a journey alone on his car, a vacation to escape the mundanity of his life. He stopped in an isolated village, nestled in the arms of a forgotten forest, a place untouched by the hustle and bustle of modern civilization. The village, a picturesque haven, seems to be frozen in time, offering Brian the tranquility he craved, so he decided to stay for a few days before taking the road again. Yet, as the days pass, Brian began to notice something peculiar. The villagers, once warm and welcoming, now appear shrouded in an air of mystery. They gather at the village square every night, their voices raised in a haunting chorus that echoes through the silent night. On his last night at the village, Brian is jolted awake by an agonizing scream. His heart pounds in his chest as he scrambles to the window, the chilling echoes of the scream still ringing in his ears. The sight that greets him is one of pure terror. Right at middle of the village square, a cross stands aflame, its fiery glow casting an eerie light on the surrounding houses. The flickering flames dance in his eyes, reflecting his growing fear. The sight of the burning cross sends chills down his spine. "What the hell is that?" Brian asks himself. Driven by curiosity and fear, Brian sneaks out into the street. He moves with caution, shadows flitting across the moonlit cobblestones, his eyes darting nervously from one darkened alleyway to another. His attention is drawn to a building at the end of the street, a church, its doors open, a single light flickering inside. He approaches it, the eerie glow of the light casting long, ominous shadows across the pavement. Stepping inside, he is greeted by the sight of a man. He kneels before an altar, his voice a low murmur as he prays the same words over and over again. Brian gathers his courage, stepping forward to interrupt the man's fervent prayer. "Excuse me, sir, can you tell me what's going on outside?" he asks. His questions about the horrifying event outside spill out in a rush, his voice echoing in the large, empty space. The man raises his head, his eyes meeting Brian's. His response, however, only deepens the mystery. His cryptic words, "Those who defy the divine shall pay in fire," says the man in a calm voice. The message gives him a chill down his spine, revealing a glimpse of the dark truth that he has yet to uncover. Retreating from the church, Brian hurries back towards the safety of his house. As he rushes through the cobblestone streets, a figure steps out from the shadows, blocking his path. It's a villager, his face illuminated by the eerie glow of a nearby lantern. His eyes glint with an unsettling intensity as he looks at him, a sinister smile tugging at the corners of his lips. "Have you prayed today?" he asks, his voice a chilling whisper that cuts through the night. His mind's racing as he tries to comprehend the villager's creepy tone and his unsettling interest in Brian's religious practices. "I'm just, visiting," Brian replies in a shaking tone. "Remember, the Lord always knows," whispered the villager in his ear. The villager's words echoed in his mind, adding another layer of fear to his already terrifying experience. Back at his house, Brian finds sleep elusive, his mind spinning with the night's terrifying events. As the moon hangs high in the sky, casting long shadows across his rented room, he makes the decision to leave the village at once. He packs the belongings in silence, the atmosphere heavy with anticipation and fear. The once idyllic village now feels like a prison, its charming cobblestone streets and quaint houses, a facade hiding a sinister secret. Brian rushes to the car with his belongings, only to stop dead in his tracks. His heart sinks as he takes in the sight before him. All 4 tires of his car have been slashed, the rubber torn and shredded. Despair washes over him as he realizes the escape plan has been sabotaged. The village he once thought of as a peaceful haven now holds him captive. Brian returns home, his heart pounding like a drum in his chest. The once familiar path to his house now feels like a treacherous journey, each shadow a potential threat. As he reaches his front door, he notices something amiss. The door is slightly ajar, the lock forced open. A chill runs down his spine as he cautiously steps inside, the eerie silence of the house amplifying his fear. Before he can react, a force hits him from behind, a blunt object striking his head. Pain explodes in his skull, the room spins, and then everything goes black. Brian is left unconscious on the floor of his own home, the victim of an unknown assailant, his escape plan thwarted, his fate uncertain. Before we plunge deeper into the heart of Brian's nightmarish ordeal, a quick interlude, dear viewers. If the pulse-pounding tension of our tale has gripped you, do us a favour and hit the like button below. Your support helps us continue to bring these thrilling stories to life. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing to our channel and turning on notifications so you never miss a moment of the action. Now, take a deep breath, steel your nerves, and let's return to the chilling confines of Brian's nightmare. Brian awakens, his head pounding with pain. He finds himself hanging inverted in a dank, grimy dungeon, the despair-laden atmosphere thick with the nauseating stench of decay. As his eyes adjust to the dim light, a horrifying sight greets him. More captives imprisoned in this infernal setting with clear signs of torture. Some lifeless, their eyes eternally shut in terror. His heart throbs in his chest as the harsh reality of his situation sinks in. Panic begins to bubble up, but Brian suppresses it, knowing his survival depends on his calm. He tugs at his restraints, his muscles shrieking in protest, but they prove unyielding. His gaze darts around, hunting for anything that could potentially aid his escape, but nothing is at hand's reach. In the face of paralyzing fear, a brutal, desperate idea crosses his mind, a risky but potential path to freedom. He decides to break one of his feet to slip out of the shackles. It's a painful choice, but he grits his teeth, preparing for the agonizing ordeal. He contorts his body, aligns his foot and twists violently. His foot snaps with a sickening crunch, a scream of pure agony escaping his lips. The pain is monstrous, but it's worth it when he feels the shackle loosen. Brian, now free from his shackles, is met with desperate pleas from the other prisoners as he limps painfully towards the dungeon exit. Their eyes filled with hope bore into him, silently begging for salvation. He grinds his teeth, his heart heavy with guilt and helplessness. He is but one man and he has no keys, no weapons, nothing to aid their escape. The echoes of their pleas haunt him as he stumbles out of the dungeon and the heavy door slams shut behind him. Taking in a breath of the fresh night air, Brian emerges from a house into the village square. His heart skips a beat at the sight that greets him, a flaming cross. But this time as someone is tied to it, burning alive. The villagers watch in eerie silence, their faces masked in shadows cast by the flickering flames. The sight of the burning figure sears itself into Brian's mind, a chilling reminder of the dark secret this idyllic village harbours. His heart pounds in his chest, a desperate plan forming in his mind. He has to act, and he has to act now. Brian's heart pounds in his chest as he retreats into the shadows. The sickening smell of burning flesh fills the air, a grim reminder of the fate that awaits him if he's caught. He tiptoes his way around the village square, the eerie silence punctuated only by the crackling flames and the occasional hushed whispers of the villagers. Suddenly a twig snaps under his foot. A villager turns, his eyes narrow in suspicion. Brian's breath hitches in his throat as he ducks behind a nearby building, just in time. His heart threatens to burst from his chest as the villager's gaze lingers on his hiding spot before moving on. In a stroke of luck, Brian spots a horse tied to a post nearby. His heart leaps. He's never ridden a horse before, but he's desperate. He approaches the horse slowly, trying his best to convey a sense of calm he doesn't feel. With a sigh of relief, the horse doesn't spook. He manages to mount the horse, and with a swift kick, they're off. The horse gallops through the cobblestone streets, Brian clinging onto its mane for dear life. The wind whips his face as he risks a glance back, the village slowly receding in the distance, its sinister secret hidden behind its idyllic facade. His breath comes in ragged gasps, the adrenaline coursing through his veins. Against all odds, Brian has managed to escape. Exhausted, Brian slows the horse down, allowing it to catch its breath as he takes in his surroundings. He's far from the village now, its ominous silhouette a distant memory. "Thank you," he whispers into the night, his voice choked with emotion. It's unclear whether he's thanking the horse, the night, or the sheer luck that allowed him to escape. We too, dear viewers, share in Brian's gratitude. Your time, your attention, and your courage to face the unknown with us is deeply appreciated. Until our paths cross again in another tale of terror, we bid you a temporary farewell.